Greetings and salutations, young critical thinking students. So, we begin chapter 9 this week. Deductive arguments, part 1, categorical logic. Right? So, categorical logic was invented by Aristotle 2,500 years ago. And as Moore and Parker note in the text, there is no better way to understand the underlying logical structure of our language, any given language you speak, English, Spanish, Vietnamese, it does not matter. What logic examines is, again, that underlying logical structure. And that logical structure in English is denoted by words like or, and, phrases like if, then, if and only if, and lastly by not. So, categorical logic is based on the relations of inclusion and exclusions among categories or classes of things, right? And Aristotle demonstrated you can do some pretty amazing things, right? You can capture a lot of the underlying logical structure of human languages with just 4 sentence types. So the first sentence type is an A claim. And A claims always take the form all blank are blank, right? So there's a subject term and there's a predicate term. For example, all pianists are musicians. The second claim type is what's known as an E claim. With E claims, they always take the form no blank are blank, right? So no otterhounds are pianists, right? I claims some blank are blank. Some musicians, are prodigies. Oh, some blank are not blank. Some politicians are not criminals. Now, gang, I want you to bear this in mind. A and E claims are what are known as universal claims. I and O claims are what are known as particular claims, right? A and I claims are affirmative claims, whereas E and O claims are negative claims. All right? So, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And well, in the next video, I'll elaborate on that a little bit more, right? Now, as Moore and Parker note at the top of page 245, only nouns and noun phrases work as terms in categorical logic. So this, what goes into subject and predicate blanks in A, E, I, and O claims are known as terms, and you can only use nouns or noun phrases, right? You can't use an adjective, right? All fire engines are red is not a standard form categorical syllogism, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about translation from English into one of our form claim types, because if we're going to study something with respect to categorical logic, it's got to be rendered in one of our 4 categorical claim types, A, E, I, or O, right? So what do you do if you have a sentence like only sophomores are eligible candidates, right? Well, only suggests that there's somebody, this group and this group alone, right, are the eligible candidates, only them, right? So we got 2 possibilities here. We have all sophomores are eligible candidates, and we have all eligible candidates are sophomores, right? So it's extremely important to get the order right, because those 2 claims are saying something quite different, right? The correct translation of only sophomores are eligible candidates is all eligible candidates are sophomores, right? Moore Parker note, top of page 247, the word only used by itself introduces the predicate term of an A claim. The predicate term is the second term to appear in the A claim. Now consider the only people admitted, are people over 21. The only people admitted are people over 21, right? All right. What are we saying here? Every one of the admitted has to be over 21. So we're talking about all people. Again, we know this is an A claim. So translation is all people admitted are people over 21. The phrase the only or the only introduces the subject term of an A claim. Now, the original sentence, only matinees are half-price shows, and matinees are the only half-price shows. The translation would be all half-price shows are matinees, right? What do you do though when you are confronted with a claim, a categorical claim about times, right? I always get nervous when I take logic exams. Well, you might think that the subject of this sentence is logic exams, but in fact it isn't. It's times, right? All times or all instances that I take logic exams are times when I get nervous, right? The translation would be all times I take logic exams are times I get nervous. All right. What about places, right? It's snowing everywhere in Massachusetts, right? This is about snow and it's about today, but we're seeing it as about places, right? Places where it's snowing and places in Massachusetts. So once you see it that way, you translate it into all places in Massachusetts are places it's snowing, right? The lamb goes wherever Bo Peep goes. All places Bo Peep goes are places the lamb goes. He makes trouble wherever he goes. All places he goes are places he makes trouble, right? Now, a couple things to note here. Whenever you encounter the word whenever, that usually introduces the subject term of an A claim about times, right, or occasions. Wherever introduces the subject term of an A claim about places. One last thing to talk about with respect to translations, what do you do when you're dealing with an individual? Because an individual is surely not a category. An individual is just that, an individual, right? All right. So we got a claim like Aristotle is a logician. Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to transform Aristotle into a category containing exactly one member, right? So that becomes all people identical with Aristotle are logicians. Since the only person identical with Aristotle is Aristotle, Aristotle is thereby a category of one, again, consisting of exactly one member. This example from the text on page 250, near and dear to my heart. St. Louis is on the Mississippi. Translation, all cities identical with St. Louis are cities on the Mississippi. Now, one last little bit about translations. What about something like mass nouns, right? Boiled okra is too ugly to eat is Moore Parker's example. So what you do there when you're dealing with mass nouns, right, collective nouns, if you will, right, is you translate it thusly. All examples of boiled okra are things that are too ugly to eat, right? And if you got something like most boiled okra is too ugly to eat, that becomes an I claim. Some examples of boiled okra are things that are too ugly to eat. All right, gang. So work on those translations, and we will talk about forming categorical syllogisms and then testing them for validity on Wednesday.